you greasy food truck of believers, welcome. My non-university students, welcome to the Uncensored Unprofessor.
Good day, Dr. Yu.
Hey, my unseen alter Walter. Nice stab at an Aussie accent there. Hey, I've been wondering, have you been ghosting me? I mean, this series is kind of dicey.
Oh no, I love what you're doing. Me? I've been down in our dank backyard bunker for a couple weeks and thought I'd come up for some fresh air and say hello. The hoo-hoo pies have enough carbs, but they taste like dreck. Pretty stale now. Yeesh.
Well, it's good to hear you.
Yeah, what's going on with old Rona 19?
Oh, she's still plaguing us all.
You still required to keep 6 feet apart from people at the store?
Yep, 6 feet, and now masks are required most everywhere too.
Wait, 6 feet and a mask? When last I checked months ago, it was 6 feet or a mask. Has the virus grown more powerful that we now need both?
Nope, government leaders just told us we need both. They daily heap their administrative slotch on us as much as they can. Oh, and as a sports fan, this one will tickle your funny bone.
What's that?
Colleges are scheduling their team's football games this fall so that they only play inside their established conference. No traveling to other conferences.
Seriously? That's pretty cool that the virus knows not to spread between diverse geographical locations. Fun!
No, it actually doesn't work that way. It's just an arbitrary way to make it look like something is being done. Bureaucrats love to do things in slotch fashion, virtue signal in ways that, in the end, are really pointless. I call it all Bureaucracy 101.
Bureaucracy 101. You do love to say things in academic speak. Well, but I am happy to know that at least you can go to church now, right? Please tell me that after 5 months, the population has reached herd immunity and are once again enjoying Christ's presence in worship together?
Yet, no herd immunity. For most, no church. We've been kept apart, socially distanced. The healthy young and the virile middle-aged have been kept from going back to work, kept separate. It's almost like herd immunity is a detested goal. I mean, in most states, they still aren't allowing funerals or weddings or visitation of the elderly in nursing homes.
You totes got to be kidding me.
Nope.
Please tell me that's not true. We can't visit the elderly? Won't that lead to depression? For Sally's sake, won't that kind of isolation lead to an increase in suicides?
Look, I'm with you, Walter. To date, there have been some 175,000 Wu-flu deaths in America.
Wow, that's no good.
No good at all. But the weird thing? Center for Disease Control Director Robert Redfield said in a Buck Institute webinar that suicides and drug overdoses have surpassed the death rate for COVID-19 among high school students. He argued that lockdowns and lack of public schooling constituted a disproportionately negative impact upon young people's mental health. Walter, in that same interview, Dr. Redfield said the national suicide rate is soaring this year. In the city of Chicago, there have already been more black suicides than all of 2019. But we won't know the exact national numbers for 2 years or more.
So, the whole nation is upset, right? I mean, if you combine the depression, suicides, drug addictions, and economic meltdown all together, isn't that worse than the effects of the virus itself?
Well, many'd agree with you, Walter. I mean, yeah, mix in all the people who've gone bankrupt. Throw that in there, too. But no, the virus is king. The virus reigns over all. Hail King Rona! Nothing is as frightful as the Rona, or at least that's what the media tells us 24/7.
Oh, me. Well, at least Christians are standing up for the depressed, concerned about the soaring suicide rate, right? Please, please, Your Eminence, please tell me the church sees what's going on.
Walter, I'm afraid not. A massive chunk of the church has totally acquiesced to the fear-mongering. They've accepted that Christianity is not essential.
I never would have seen that coming. Never, ever.
Well, I'm with you on that one. But now that I think of it, I guess I'm with you on most everything.
Signs and wonders. I never would have believed it. I feel like I'm watching some dystopian movie.
Signs and wonders for sure, Walter. I feel like I'm living in a Salvador Dali painting.
You mean where Dolly has the warped clock arms bending over the cliff?
Exactly. The clock arms are bending over the cliff. It's like watching a glacier go over a cliff.
Signs and wonders. Signs and wonders.
Yesterday, I helped my daughter-in-law Lauren make breakfast. So I was looking for the pancake mix in our pantry. I stood there for 80 seconds? I could not see the mix. It's down on the lower shelf, she told me. 20 more seconds of me staring, my old blue eyes never landing on the Kodiak mix. And she says, "Here, let me show you." She reached in, reached down, and right in front of where I'd been standing was the brown box of Kodiak pancake mix. If it had been a viper, it would have bit me. I'd been looking for a dark blue and white package, but the mix was in a brown box. My brain, my expectations kept me from seeing what was as obvious as could be. My point? We get shaped by our expectations. We get shaped by the vision that is in our heads.
What does that have to do with anything? Sheesh.
Yeah, thanks. I was setting things up. This is a series called The Cult of the Now. The cult teaches, preaches, and envisions a prescribed social reality for any and all who will. I want to be really clear, because I've had people on social media not getting what I'm trying to critique here. Communication is a cumbersome process, right? And I'm not always adept at making things crystal clear. But in this series, I'm critiquing Marxism. I'm not critiquing postmodernism, though there is overlay. I'm not critiquing classical liberalism. I'm critiquing the abiding vein of Marxism that is now celebratorily standing naked out in the public consciousness.
Any chance you could put a diaper on?
You see, across my entire life, the Marxists have played it close to the vest. They'd hint at Marxist things, and they'd make Marxist policies, all without admitting their cherished commitments. They would inculcate their agenda inside of public and higher education, using cloak and dagger strategies, but today, they are proudly out in the open. They believe, they think, that their day in history has come long at last. They're no longer afraid to show their true colors. And with the NFL and NBA and MLB and NASCAR, Jerry, all painting their venues with propagandistic signs, I'm not sure that they aren't correct that their day has come. So I want to help you understand the true colors of St. Karl, the 13th apostle of modernism, and his dreary band of disciples. Karl and his clutch have a specified vision for social reality. Today I want to touch upon some of that social vision. So come on in, take your sweater off.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Hey, I meant to say this last episode, but thanks you guys. The month of July was our highest downloaded month in 2 years. And on July 8th, we had our single highest day of downloads in 2 years. Thanks! Oh, and thank you so much to my new listeners. My podcast hosting platform, Libsyn, tracks my daily and monthly and geographic and application stats. So I can see where new listeners... No, I don't have any way of knowing your name or who your IP address is, but those of you listening to me as a guilty, politically incorrect pleasure, You can rest assured I don't know who you are.
That is so funny.
But I can see where new listeners are logging on to shows from months and years gone by. Thanks. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Is it helping you think with more nuance and precision? Cool. Would you kindly then consider a monthly donation of $5 or $10 at Patreon, Patreon? That'd be a significant help for the show. I'm trying to do a major advertising campaign. Oh, and please tell a friend who likes to think about my show. And again, welcome to a podcast where I invite Christians to turn their brains on and think both in and through Christ with me. Welcome. Okay, now that I'm done interrupting myself, social vision. Marxism is not merely an outdated economic theory. It's not just some long invalidated political theory. Better understood, it is a vision for society. A vision for what it means to be human, to do reality together. And of course, in all of this, it is in many ways a post-Christian development. Not just because it came long after Christianity in history, but because it was, from the onset, decidedly an anti-Christian worldview. Now, let's be careful. It's not true that all post-Christian history developments are false, but in Marxism's case, it is false. And because it rests on false and godless premises, lifelong missionary to India and enormously important Christian strategist Leslie Newbigin called Marxism a false Messiah, a false Christ. Or even more, Newbigin said that Marxism constantly shows up where Christianity has already appeared. But in Christianity's place, it offers a Savior without a cross. That means Marxism is a power grab within which there is no humility or lowliness. Not surprisingly, it promises what it can never deliver, promises what it has never delivered. So, just what is the Marxist vision for society? I want to unpack that and briefly contrast that with the Christian vision for reality. First, Karl's vision for social reality, aspect number one, that will all be taken care of. Who doesn't like to be doted on? Justice is that everyone is taken care of. So the cult plays to the sheeple principle, straight up. Sheep love to have their needs attended. Sheep love to be told where to get the greenest clover. Sheep hate having to think for themselves or fend for themselves. And playing to the sheeple in human nature, Marxism says no one should have to go without. No one ever. Now, what's the price for being taken care of like this? Oh, just surrendering your freedom. You see, it's really a simple cultish trade. You give up your freedom and Karl's Klatch will take care of you. That is how it works. That's the vision, the trade. All cults want you to trade your freedom for safety. All cults want people to trade their ability to think for the safety of group thought. Stay inside the group and you'll be taken care of. Cultish much?
Oh, come on. You're just being dramatic. And besides, what's the big deal? Isn't taking care of people a good choice?
Well, that's what I'm clarifying today. Choices. Choices between big social visions. Do you want to be taken care of more than you want to be free? Then you might like Karl's vision. But that's what's at stake here. The social vision of freedom versus a social vision of 3 squares a day, a roof over your head, and ostensibly even free health care, and a free education.
And then, what will I do once I have my education?
Get a job, work hard, give your earnings to the government, to Big Brother, to Karl's wiser-than-you leaders who will divvy up and dole out to other people, strangers, the money you made. Because remember, Karl 3:16? From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. So yeah, you go and get a law degree, take that extra 3 years of study and hard work to earn a JD, and then when you're done, you just toss your income into the kitty so it can be dispersed in a socially just manner, mind you, for the benefit of everyone else.
But because I spent 3 years on top of 4 years getting an education, Kyuk, I'll get a bigger slice of the pie than the fellow who only has a high school diploma, right? I mean, that's only fair.
Well, you might think that, but across the history of Marxist societies, it never worked so carefully.
Well, heck, then what's the point of going and getting additional years of education? Why, yuck, why would I work so hard to get paid the same as someone who didn't study for so long or for so hard?
And there you have it. Marxist societies not only do not promote personal incentive, they positively eliminate that. Yep. Why indeed, my lime green hat-wearing friend? Why would you spend 7 more years at school if when you're done you'll get paid the same as someone who stops their preparation at 18 years of age? Yep, you hit the nail on the head.
Gosh, I thought that we'd just take the money from all those rich richies, those bad baddies. You mean everyone, not just the raunchy rich, have to contribute their income?
Yeah, that's how it works. It sounds great in theory, but it kills incentive and personal responsibility and personal growth. Social vision. Again, doesn't it seem wonderful that everyone would contribute to the kitty only then to fairly have the kitty divided up? It would seem like it, but it has never, in any Marxist society, worked out so clean. I mean, for starters, who gets to decide what is the kitty? Only your monthly salary? What about private property? Shouldn't that be surrendered too? Because in Marxist cult history, private property is always taken too. Or who gets to be the one to show their largesse? Remember from last week, largesse? The generosity of our superiors. Who gets to show their largesse and give us back whatever share of what we've already chipped in? Who gets to make that decision? On what basis are they the ones making that decision? How are they making those decisions?
You're just being hateful.
How am I being hateful?
Speaking the truth in public. How dare you? Why are you such a racist?
Well, I'm sorry, but you just switched gears. Instead of attacking my argument, you attacked my person. That's a lousy, common, cultish way of arguing. It's called ad hominem argumentation.
What the hell is ad hominem argument?
No, it's not a vegetable. An ad hominem remark turns the discussion from a principle into a personal attack. Ad hominem means to the man, to the person, personal attack. Calling me a racist when I'm talking about principles is a childish redirect. You might as well have just called me a dumb Pollock.
Okay, dumb Pollock.
Wow, thanks, okay. I'm trying to display the social vision that Karl the modernist's 13th apostle holds out to entice the sheep. My listener, I formatted big chunks of today's episode listening repeatedly on Spotify to Led Zeppelin's Fool in the Rain. It ain't the first time, believe me, baby, I'm standing here feeling blue, blue, yeah, I'm blue. Fool in the Rain seemed like a fitting song for a show about a cultish social vision. I thought you'd want to know that. So, social vision aspect number 1, you'll be taken care of. True, you'll have to trade your freedoms.
Have you got the Lord Fauci approved vaccine yet?
No? Then just how do you think you're going to go out in public?
Hey, we haven't seen you recently at the 2 Minutes of Hate. How can we know you're a sincere believer in social justice?
Jerry, did you just now think something that went against my need to be taken care of? You know, Jerry, that thinking hateful things like that are forbidden by the party. I don't want to have to report you to the thought police, Jerry.
Did you, along with the rest of your apartment complex, show up for the eye retina scan last week? No? Then how do you expect to open the government-provided lock to your own house? So yeah, you will be taken care of, and it will only cost you your freedom. But that's always the trade to be embraced inside a cult. Social vision aspect number 2, no one should get their feelings hurt. Now, full confession, even old Mr. Marx would have never promoted this aspect, but his great-great-grandkids, the Pomo inheritors of socialism, have taken notions of equality, which was indeed dear to Mr. Marx's heart. They've taken notions of equality and twisted those into even emotional equality. Honestly, I'll bet if dreary Karl himself were here today, he wouldn't recognize this one, but, well, it's where we're at. Me? I've never met a single Christian who delighted in hurting people's feelings, but there's this weird little component of reality that we know it inserts itself now and then through a Christian worldview. Truth. The truth doesn't always feel good. The truth doesn't always affirm our feelings, right? So this can put the Christian worldview at odds with contemporary cultish configurations about social reality where feelings are king. What do I mean? Let me give you a simple illustration. Let's say you don't, despite 12 or 13 years of public education, you never learn how to read. You are going to be handicapped across the great bulk of life. Illiteracy is one of the enormous handicaps that fosters multi-generational poverty. It makes sense, right? If you can't read, how can you run a Lift King forklift, which has operating instructions that need to be read? Or involves picking up containers that have written specifications on them? Or involves following safety rules that are posted in writing around the manufacturing yard? How can a company possibly hire someone to operate a forklift who can't read? Illiteracy fosters poverty, and that across entire ethnic groupings. But if someone can't read today, Karl's 21st century Pomo inheritors tell us, if someone can't read today, it is because their school wasn't given enough money.
Oh, come on.
And if you say the issue isn't about school funding, but that it's really about cultural configurations that do not value reading, do not value literacy, then you're going to find yourself hurting people's feelings. And above all, the gospel according to Karl 2020, people's feelings cannot get hurt. Oh man, a few years ago when I was a professor, we had a university administrator stand up in front of the full faculty and say, "Folks, we need to find a way to make the runway longer. We have ethnic students who are registering to attend our school, and if you could just make the runway a little longer, then we'd be committing to a work of social justice." I sat there thinking to myself, wait, what? What did he just say? Did he? Oh dear, I think he did just say, using woke code, that he wants us to make college easier in order to foster social justice. You guys, my listeners, that college administrator, like 10,000s of other college administrators, honestly believed that if we'd all just be a little more mindful of people's feelings, if we'd make things easier, then those students would not only stay longer at our college, because believe me, you guys, retention keeping students at school once they've enrolled. Retention, which means dollars, is priority number 1A for college administrators. If we would help those students stay longer at our college, we'd be serving the still greater goal of social justice. And the gist of all that? Feelings equal dollars. Now, sure, we could find all manner of examples in society where that is indeed true. Feelings do often equal dollars. But in education? College? Make things easier and you might make less qualified graduates, which is to say, less qualified job applicants, right? Think with me. As a professor, I could have made things easier by assigning a 5-page paper instead of a 10-page paper. But the students wouldn't have learned the value of time and commitment, of research and editing and re-editing. Or I could make things easier by not grading their papers for correct grammar. Some administrators push for just that. But then I'd be lying to them. I'd be lying by saying they were doing college-level work when in fact they were doing high school or, goodness, junior high-level work. Oh my, I could say that the spelling in their papers was of no consequence. I mean, sure as shootin'. That'd be a way to make the runway longer, make it easier for students to come to school, stay in school, and graduate college. One little catch. They wouldn't have earned a college degree. Yeah, they might have earned something, a diploma for showing up, or a certificate of having attended some classes, a fancy embossed piece of paper with their name on it that says they were bodily present on campus for 4 years, but none of those equals a traditional college degree. Thinking about forklifts and education and forklifts, I read an online newspaper article the other day. A cocky young lad applied for a forklift job at a local firm based in his hometown. A migrant worker applied for the same job, and since both applicants had similar qualifications, they were asked to take a test and led to a quiet room with no interruptions by the manager. When the results were in, both men had scored 19 out of 20. The manager went to the local lad and said, "Thank you for coming to the interview, but we've decided to give the migrant the job." The man said, "And why would you do that? We both got 19 questions right. Surely I should get the job over a foreigner." The manager responded, "We have made our decision, not on the correct answers, but on the question you got wrong." The man said, "And just how would one incorrect answer be better than another?" The manager said, "Oh, that's simple. On question number 7, the migrant wrote down, 'I don't know.' And you wrote down, 'Neither do I.'" Thank you, upjoke.com. Making the runway longer, making things easier so that kids don't get their feelings hurt by having to study or build vocabulary or learn logic or spend serious time with a tutor, making the runway longer in the end? Yeah, it might protect the students' feelings, but it will have done them an enormous disservice. They'll have borrowed what? $60,000, $80,000 in student loans, only to graduate in a state of functional illiteracy. And this is happening nationwide. It fires the ire of our esteemed Dr. Sowell to know that minorities are being treated and indirectly punished this way. But it's happening nationwide. Why? Because Karl's great-great-grandchildren, the cult members, yelling in the streets, "If you're silent, you're violent." They have a social vision that, while it seems to respect people, really only debilitates people. It seems respectful, but it really infantilizes people, turns them into babies. Goodness, you guys. I'm only two elements into the woke cult social vision, and I just have to stop and make a quick contrast with the biblical view of social reality.
Just got to.
Now, in the biblical social reality, is there mutuality? Oh yeah. Please go listen to my series on the Trinity. In the biblical social reality, do the strong look out for the needs of the weak? Of course. It's taught through most all of the Bible's 66 good books. In the biblical reality, are we taught to be mindful of other people's feelings? Well, no, not as such. But we would pay attention to the many stories about responsibility and the many admonitions about extending grace and charity. Yeah. But an enormous difference between the woke cult and a biblical social reality? Personal agency.
Wait, what did you say just now?
Personal agency.
Why on earth start talking about secret agents? Do you intend to spy on me?
I'm not going down that path, although the big tech companies you like so much are effectively spying on you. No. Personal agency means that inside the community of faith, inside the community of life lived before God, people are responsible. Jeepers. We see it from the very first story about Adam and Eve. They were responsible. They didn't get to blame their sin of idolatry upon the serpent's cunning, or the garden's orientation to the rising sun, or their gender. They were responsible for themselves. Or we see it in the Gospels with many of Jesus' encounters with people. Man, for all the current woke Christian reworking of Jesus' identity, he never went around accepting or excusing people's sin. He called them on the carpet. Or even more often, he'd show up, preach the gospel, and tell them, you need to decide today. Today's the day of salvation. Who do you say that I am? He was rather forceful. Forceful that they had the personal agency to respond or not. He took it as a given, because he knew it was a God-given, that people were free to respond, to choose, to obey or disobey, to take responsibility for what he just told them. Personal agency. Geesh. I could do an entire series on personal agency. Yes, again, the community looks out for the community in a biblical vision of social reality, but within the community, people are held responsible for their own agency. They are They are treated like adults. The Bible never infantilizes anyone, ever. Amazing. Alrighty then. We've seen that in Karl's social vision you'll be taken care of and your feelings should never be hurt. What else? Oh yeah, another biggie. Number 3. All inequity is bias. All inequity is stealing. This is central to Karl's social vision. When things are unequal, it's not because of biology. Men are not physically stronger than women. Tall women are not advantaged over short women in basketball. Biology has no advantages. In fact, they're saying to us today, let's get rid of biology altogether. Whatever sex you want to identify as, it's all good, man. It's all good, Zome. Or when things are unequal, it's not because of choices. Nuh-uh. Some neighborhoods choose for decades to graffiti houses, while other neighborhoods choose for decades to manicure their lawns. And that those clean neighborhoods look decidedly pleasant is not because of the accumulation of personal choices. No way, hater! It's due to prejudice, due to fiscal inequity. It's due to the hateful love of individualism.
Pride of ownership. How hateful.
When things are unequal, it's not because of hard work. No way, say the Marxists. Inequality is always due to somebody plotting, conspiring to take advantage of someone else. Always. Bill Gates has more money because he stole it from the rest of us. Not because he, a young man, spent 10,000s of hours learning computer programming when that was still brand new, and then he went on to learn how to design computers that we'd all eventually want to have. No way. He stole those billions of dollars from all of us. Remember when we had those billions?
Wait, I don't ever remember even having millions.
No, hard work is never a recognized reason for inequity. Bias and prejudice and racism are always the reason for things being unequal. We're told daily, there are too many haters trying to get over on us. All inequity is biased. Honestly, it's an intentionally divisive way to frame reality. It pits people against people. It fosters resentment. It foments bitterness. And all of that ugliness translates into votes and power.
Votes and power, baby!
So, constituent to the neo-Marxist social vision, number one will all be taken care of. Some, especially of the sheepy disposition, are drawn to that. Number two, no one should ever get their feelings hurt. Many of the emotions are king take on reality think that is just dandy. And third, all inequity is biased or prejudiced. Those who hate to think but love to find villains they can vomit all of their emotional energy onto, love that one. All inequity is biased. Now, there are many, many problems with the social vision of St. Karl the 13th Apostle. Listing those off could be an entire series. I mean, just if we got into freedom of religion alone, would be something else. Today I want to emphasize that what the Marxist social vision does is both play to and drive forward mediocrity. Now, if you know me, you know I love excellence. I don't want a surgeon who gives me a warm emotional hug. I want a surgeon who's an excellent technician. My own back surgeon 2.5 years ago, he was a cold, wet hand. He had almost no personality. He was an awesome surgeon. I'm so grateful that he was my surgeon because his skill was excellent. Marxism, the social vision of today's woke folk, produces everywhere it goes a tepid puddle of mediocrity. Right? Think with me. If everyone's feelings are equal and should never get hurt, who do you suppose's feelings finally reign as king? Exactly. Those with the most fragile feelings. Lowest common denominator, mediocrity. If everyone should be taken care of, then who do you suppose will drive the agenda for the rest of society? Those who scream loudest will be taken care of. Lowest common denominator, mediocrity. If inequity is not the result of time and place and chance and opportunity and decision and strategy and personal agency but if instead all inequity is the result of bias, guess whose inequity will drive the social agenda for everyone else? Bazinga! Those who feel the most put out. Those who feel like they've been the most prejudicially treated. And isn't this all exactly what we're witnessing today? Mediocrity. We're all supposed to celebrate mediocrity. Treat all inequity like some serious injustice. Eesh. We're positively told that if we don't celebrate mediocrity and the lowest common denominator, that we are in truth hateful. You guys, this is a pernicious, insidious, ugly, intentionally divisive way of construing reality. We're supposed to celebrate all that? Take it seriously? Get on our knees and repent because we refuse to embrace mediocrity? Or now you're the one to blame because you don't want to trade your freedoms for being taken care of? Yes, My good listener, we are living in a twisted Salvador Dali painting. No wonder that vague feeling of guilt that has been piled on you finally has not rung true. We get shaped by our expectations. We get shaped by the vision that is in our heads, profoundly so. Now, me and millions, looking for regular old raise your family, work hard, worship God, we just want our pancake mix. But there are folks in Minneapolis and Portland, they're not looking for pancake mix, they're looking for blasting powder. For them, it's time for a new social order, blasting powder. And those are massively different social visions. What we're watching on the streets every night is no longer having anything to do with George Floyd. This is about a cultish social vision. Power for the sake of power, being rolled out nightly in front of us. Personally, I don't believe this is just one more election year rally cry. I believe this is the camel sticking his nose in the tent and saying, "Hey, it's my time to own this tent now. Get out." We are witnessing neo-Marxist social vision raising its head and demanding superiority, demanding your own quiet acquiescence. This is no mere difference of opinion about already decided matters. This is about what constitutes a social vision of reality. And the contrasts have never been louder than at any time in my life. Thank you guys for listening. Stay rooted in Christ. Keep your identity in the crucified and resurrected Christ. And please, for the love of everything beautiful, go and turn your brains on, everybody.